All right, so starting recording now. I am going to start this episode off, and I might step on a few toes, but I think it's necessary. One of the hardest lessons that I have learned in business this year is that some people don't necessarily like you, they like what you can do for them. And when I first started to learn this, I had a lot of reflecting on it because I was like, what a bunch of jerks. Like, just because I don't have as many weddings this year as I used to, now all of a sudden I'm not like as cool as I was. Um, and then I started to reflect more and I was like, no, actually, it's not the people. Like, people are just being people. That's normal. It's me. I have to be able to identify this early on so that I know how to move around certain types of people. So the frienders and the people that are necessarily don't care for you that much, but they care for the business that you can bring them, the doors that you can unlock for them, the clientele that you can put them in front of. It doesn't mean that they're fake, and it doesn't mean that you should walk around suspiciously or on eggshells. It just means that you have to really learn this aspect in business and be able to see people really clearly. Your circle of trust in business is everything, and it should not be an all access pass or all access granted. It should be very, very selective. And for me in my past, for the last, I don't even know how many years, I've been in business for 15 years, so probably all of them, I thought everybody that was nice to me was my friend, and I let them in. And I'm like, no, let's give this person a chance. Like, it'll be fine, it'll be great. But it's just not really true. It's just, you have to really protect your circle and your circle of trust. So that's the kind of beginning to this. So I'm going to say, welcome back to the show, and I'm so happy you all are here to listen. If you're new here, I am Trista, and this is the IO Podcast, a wedding planning podcast that vows to be so real and raw and uncut. And on this episode, we're really going to be speaking to vendors. But then again, a lot of our brides that listen to us, this could be really helpful for as well, because if you've ever felt taken advantage of, you're probably going to be able to relate to something on this show. So this episode is a personal one for me. I'm going to get a little bit deeper in there. I'm going to express how I felt. And I feel like other business owners and creators and leaders, and especially a lot of other planners that do kind of hold the keys to a lot of doors, are going to be really like, they're going to be able to relate to this as well. So we're going to break down some very valuable lessons throughout this. I'm going to kind of like list them out because there's a few different categories that kind of came up as I was writing this show. And if you listen to any of my past episodes, you know that this year I have really opened up a lot on this podcast. So this time we're going to dive a little bit deeper into some business lessons that I have learned. So again, starting off with the first topic of liking you versus what you can provide, liking what you can provide. I wish somebody would have told me this and kind of taught me and walked me through this when I first started, because I probably would have avoided a lot of heartache. There's a big difference between people that like you and want to see you succeed and will do anything for you and cheer for you and really be in your corner. And then there's people that will be so sweet and nice to you because they like the access that you provide. And then when it comes time to reciprocate or to be a kind person or to do anything that's maybe having them go out of their way, they're really not around, because there again, they were only there because they liked what you could provide for them. So the truth is that those kind of people are not being malicious, they're being human, and they like opportunities, and they like being close to high-end clients, and they like being close to somebody that has a great reputation. They like the momentum, they like the motion, and especially wedding planners or people in any type of power and position, they carry the keys to those kind of things. So when you're smaller and you're looking up and you want to see who has the weight and who does afford you the opportunity to become bigger, and representing something that's larger than what you're able to do on your own, you're going to take full advantage of it. So people will be warm and friendly and supportive. They're going to act like they're your biggest fan. And it's just important to understand that sometimes people just say whatever. I remember there was this makeup artist that used to DM every single planner, and she would say the same things over and over and over. And she would leave the same comments on all planners' Instagram pages. And I called her on it and I was like, hey girl, like, I think it's super sweet what you're doing, but like, you got to pick a side. Like, you have to pick who you really align with and then go super hard with that team and those people. Because when you are just kind of blowing smoke up everyone's behind, it doesn't seem genuine, you know? So I would say at least try to seem a little bit genuine if that's the direction you want to go. And just keep in mind that praise doesn't equal loyalty. So somebody can tell anyone a bunch of compliments and you know, kind of brown nose them, but it really doesn't mean that they care. So hearing things like, you're so amazing, I don't know how you do it all, you're so pretty, it doesn't mean that they're like there for you. It just means that they want to be around you. And even in the time that they're saying those things to you, they're getting access to you. And so it makes them feel like they're kind of accomplishing things. You also have to remember that energy doesn't always equal trust. So trust in business is something that really goes hand in hand. And you have to give the benefit, or I tend to give the benefit of the doubt a lot to people. And I think that a lot more people are trustworthy than what they really are. So just keep that in mind, that trust doesn't always, trust isn't something that should just kind of come easily, and access needs to be earned. So you can't just assume that people are like there for good intent and they want to be around you. You have to really kind of put people at a distance and treat them like they're doing business, because that's what it is. Business shouldn't be emotional. And that's just something that I really have to work on, because I do get so many emotions tied in. BTS is my baby. You know, I pour everything into it. So the people that I work around, I naturally love, you know, like love to pieces and want to be around more and more. But I have to always kind of just check myself in understanding that it's just not smart. You know, it's a business transaction. I pay you for a service you provide that service as amazing as possible, and then we move on. And it's important to really get to know people as this is happening and take time to let them in and to really kind of get them close to you, because then you can see how people are acting, you know, like what happens when shit hits the fan. What happens when someone has to cover a cost because there was a mistake? What happens when you're in front of a client? Are you blaming other people? Are you throwing other vendors under the bus? Like what are you actually doing, and how, you know, how are you handling situations? And how are you handling situations if I am using other vendors? Is there jealousy? Do you feel entitled? Like, what are those kind of things? And once you really get to learn people and go through the trenches, then you can allow them to come into open space with you. So again, I'm not saying all of this to make anyone bitter or to think that there's danger lurking at every corner. I just want to make people wise. And I think that it's important. When I learn a lesson, I always share it with my team. I'm like, wait, guys, I've done this before. Like, let's not do it again, because I've already experienced these kind of painful moments. So I think it's more important to do things a little bit differently. And that always helps a lot, because why have each individual person continuously learning the same mistake over and over? So just again, to recap, business is transactional and trust should never be given freely. But the goal, I think, in life is to find those people that are really going to like ride or die for you through this like entrepreneurship journey and this wedding planning industry. And those people you can really lock into. But, you know, that's just something that takes years and years and years. So with all of this being said, let's kind of dig a little bit deeper into your circle of trust being a complete vault. Being in my circle of trust in business is not a casual thing. anymore. It's something that I have really had to learn to fix. And this past year taught me so much of it because, again, I just thought everybody that was nice deserved an all access pass. And I would, definitely refer weddings to them if I thought they were a good fit for the client. And now in hindsight, looking back, I think that it's so much better for me in my perspective to really kind of spread my wings and to not kind of pour all of my eggs in one basket, because it's just, there's just too many amazing talented people out there. So, um, So again, just to recap, trust in business isn't, or shouldn't be just a like an I like you kind of moment, or like you're really cool. Business trust should be knowing and understanding if the other person is protecting your name in a room when you're not there, or following through with something if there's a cost that is incurred for a mistake. Like if a stationer drops the ball on some kind of print, or if the paper is messed up or the wrong color, are they going to cover the cost of fixing it, or does that something that then falls on your plate? Because a lot of times for planners, we're the ones client facing, so a lot of the hardships, like when things kind of hit the fan, fall on our shoulders, because a lot of people don't like to take accountability for things. And that's fine. It's kind of just part of the job, but it's definitely something that you want to pay attention to with people you're working with. Are you around consistently when there's nothing to gain? If there's a slow season, are you still just as friendly with me as when I'm booming and, sending over hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of clientele? So it's just kind of paying attention to who's there and smiling and holding your hand when life is really great, and who's there smiling and holding your hand when life is really stressful and tough. Does this person respect boundaries? If you need things by certain deadlines and you're looking for updated invoices or whatever it might be in order to give to your client, are those vendors coming through for you, or are they making you look silly because they're dragging their feet and they're not showing up? Are you a priority just like they are to you? And can you be happy for me for things that don't concern you? Like, if I have a new venue space, are you happy on my grand opening date, or are you complaining because you didn't get a part of whatever you thought you were going to get a part of? Those are all things that scream really, really loudly. And it's a good checklist that I reflected on while I was writing this. And I love doing this podcast so much because, for one, I get to hear so many stories from so many people throughout this. And while I'm writing these scripts, I also get to really reflect on things a lot. And it helps me to be super clear on a lot of topics that are really important, like this one right now. So what I've learned is that some people don't want to build with you. They don't want to see you build too. They want to build off of you. So you're just the stepping stone to their next level in life. And again, these aren't bad people, but it's important to identify who those people are so you know kind of how to move around with them. You notice things early and you can put them in a certain category so that you're not overextending more than they're overextending. If you're not able to do this, you will pay for this emotionally. Because let me tell you, this past year was quite emotional for me, and I had my little heart broken plenty of times. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You can also end up paying for it financially, like I had mentioned early. And you just want to kind of avoid those situations. So your people that are in your circle really need to be tried and true as your people. Okay, so next thing in business that I have really learned is that there's two tiers of business. There's entry level and there's experienced. And both of them have pros and cons that kind of hurt and kind of suck. So in entry level business, you're not going to get a lot of respect from people. You haven't proven yourself. You don't know as much. You don't have connections like other people do. You're kind of going to get looked down on, talked down to. People aren't going to take you seriously. Your events or weddings probably aren't as important as the top dog in town. You really get made to feel little and unimportant. And it kind of sucks. But then you grow. And you grow and you grow and you grow. And you become the big dog. And when you're the big dog, you don't necessarily get talked down to, but you get talked about. So it's like you trade one or the other. So somebody might be, instead of like oh, don't worry about her, it doesn't matter. Now it's all of a sudden like, let's see how we can bring this bitch down. And, let's smear her name, or let's smear her reputation, or let's tell people this, or let's box her out of this event, or let's do this. And it's crazy because both hurt really bad. The other thing that you have to take into consideration is when you are more established, you have to be careful of vendors that are going to charge you more or stick you with a bill because it's fine, you've got it. Like, oh, it's fine, BTS's clients can pay for it, so we're going to charge a little bit more. And it puts me in a situation all the time where I have to constantly be on guard. I have to ask so many questions. The girls on my team are always like looking up past invoices and looking up past things to kind of compare and contrast service fees. Like, hey, how come in April you charged us this, but now in October it's 3 times the amount? What's going on here? And I'm glad that we know that this happens so that we can always be aware, but it kind of sucks. Like, for me, I'm not going to charge, like we do our dance floor wraps, I'm never going to charge one of the other bigger planners more than what I'm going to charge like a smaller planner. Because why would I do that? Like, why do I want to take advantage of somebody just because I know they have more money? I want them to be loyal and to come back over and over and over and be like, oh yeah, I got a great deal. And I think that's just so important. So just be really like cautious of this. When you are newer, you want to really kind of lead with confidence. It's one way that you can really start to kind of break out of that new person zone, but you have to be really cautious when you're doing this because you don't want to come across as being like cocky or entitled or full of yourself, and if you are kind of like upping your confidence level, you have to make sure that your talent is too, because there were times when I wanted to play with the big dogs when I was young, like a lot earlier and fresher and newer, but like I wasn't there yet, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to not be up to par. Like, you have to kind of wait your turn. You have to do a lot of weddings in order to understand how everything works in there. And then as somebody that's more established, you have to be really cautious of where you're pulling your confidence, because you don't want to necessarily dumb yourself down or play too small, but you have to be mindful of the fact that when you walk into a room, you may make people feel intimidated. Actually, let me correct that. You're not going to make people feel intimidated. People will feel intimidated when you come into a room. And so you have to learn how to kind of navigate that. So in both levels of business, you're kind of walking a tightrope to make sure you're not too this way or too that way. And I can tell you that in both levels of this, it's really hard, but you want to constantly just be aware of how you're making people feel and how people are interpreting where you are and how they're gauging how they think they can treat you. So as long as you have that in the back of your mind, don't get mad at it. Don't be frustrated. Just know that that is what it is, what's going on, and move accordingly and treat people accordingly through this. It's just kind of like one of those things where you just have to have your boundaries and you have to, again, be aware of what's going on. And once you have those created, people will either respect your boundaries or they won't. And there again, you have another kind of sign of how people move and how they react. And all is well in the world. So let's get into something that I just kind of talked about a little bit. So pricing in this industry. I hear brides complain about it all the time on social media because there's just no like real transparency. And like we go through this as well because people a lot of times assume like y'all got it like that. You have high-end clients, so it doesn't matter what the price is. We can definitely add on extra service fees. We can do kind of price adjust. We can up our packages. And it's this kind of like, this is a stupid game, you guys. Like I've been in this industry for 15 years. I know what you charge. Like, stop playing games with me right now. Like, it's not necessary to do this. I just want to kind of get into this a lot because vendors will price differently based on your clientele or the venue that you're at, what they think your budget might be. there's just a lot of variables that go into things. So I just learned to ask a lot of questions. So if you're ever dealing with this, or being confronted with a sliding scale in pricing, just be really upfront with people. Ask questions. Don't feel like you just have to accept what's going on. And I'm by no way in any sense trying to say like I negotiate or barter or anything like that, but I am going to ask questions, and I'm going to say like, wait, what what happened here? Like, what's going on? I want to know clarity, and I want to understand, how did we get here? And most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, people are like, oh, it's fine. I was like wanting to adjust my pricing and kind of like scale up a little bit. But if you need it at this, just don't worry about it. I'll honor that pricing. It's just simple question. Again, it sucks that it happens, but I always think it's really important just to ask, so that way you're not feeling taken advantage of. I always kind of assume good intentions throughout this. I don't want to say people are trying to take advantage, even though it's probably pretty clear that they are. But I just want people I want to ask professionally, and I want professional answers back. I want like just decent kind of common respect for situations like this. So, I just want to share that lesson so that people understand. There was also recently, I had a situation. We had an event, and there was a bar that was delivered to the event, and it was broken. And it kind of sucked. We were able to kind of like wedge a little bit of material underneath it so it wasn't wobbly. The people that delivered it knew it was broken. They were like, oh yeah, this is that one that, is kind of glitchy. It was on a holiday, and we couldn't get, a fixed one, and we were able to make it work. So it was fine. And I assumed good intentions, that everything was fine. And when work had returned the next week, I got a call from the owner of the company wanting to slap my client with a bill for the bar being broken, even though they had delivered a broken bar to this. And again, just kind of going into how I ask questions and require clarity for everything. I kind of went into some things and asked like, well, hold on here. Let's actually recap this, because this is what really happened. Here's an image of the bar that wasn't, correctly working. And I think that this is a money grab. I think it's a bit of a money grab. And I'm going to ask you to reconsider your requested charges, because this is just not going to fly with me, and it's not going to fly with my client. And this wonderful, pleasant, lovely lady comes back, and she's like, you know what, Trista? I called around and asked about you, and I heard you were difficult to work with, and I guess that proves true. Okay, fair. Yeah, I guess I am difficult to work with. If I'm not going to let you manipulate me, I'm not going to let you take advantage of my client, I'm not going to take part in the games that you want to play. Yeah, it's probably pretty difficult. I would absolutely believe that to be true. I'm difficult to work with, but you know what? I'll wear that badge so fucking proudly, because I work with integrity and I work honestly. And no, I'm not going to charge somebody something that was already broken when it came to my event. So those are just kind of things that you want to be really careful of, because people they'll do some weird, crazy things, and a lot of times in business, things come down to money, and you think that the bigger business just has it, or that they'll just pay for it. And I'm not going for it. So I just wanted to share that lesson, just in case anybody else is ever experiencing anything like that. It's okay to say no. It's totally fine. Nope, not taking part in that. So yeah, definitely. If you are a person or a vendor that is out to kind of, actually, you know what? Let me reframe that, because I was just going to say, if you're out to take advantage of people, you should probably just stop doing it. But the crazy thing is that a vendor like that isn't even going to admit that they're out to kind of get somebody. They're going to villainize the person that they were out to get, instead of self-reflecting and being like, you know what, yeah, I was wrong there. Because in that situation that I just described, I can guarantee you that that lady didn't hang up the phone and think like, wow, that was kind of shitty that I just tried to charge her for a bar that was already broken when I delivered it to her. She hung up the phone and she thought, what a bitch. That's what she said. She said in her head, I knew she was difficult. That's what everybody says. So it was me that was the villain because I called her on it. And I think that that's a really big lesson to kind of tie in here. And just, I have to say that that's not the first person that's tried to take advantage of me or my clients. And unfortunately, I do have to fight a little bit harder. And sometimes I do need to be a little more aggressive. But that's just because I care about my job and I care about my clients. So, yeah, it's definitely difficult to do that sometimes, but it's definitely necessary. So if someone raises their prices because I have a higher clientele and they don't respect our partnership, then they just need, they just need to not be close to me. And I need to just be aware of that. And my team just needs to move accordingly to that. So I'm not saying this again to shame anyone or to say that everybody should be on alert or cautious or worried that everyone's trying to take advantage of them, but you should just move very intentfully and understand that not everybody is a great person. Okay, so let's talk about having confidence without being a jerk, because that is definitely something that I kind of struggle with a lot. You want to be confident and you want to be proud because you don't want to be pushed around. But then you also don't want to be too rigid and too full of yourself to where you might be passed up on for opportunities that could possibly elevate. So again, just to kind of recap an earlier situation that I was talking about, it's always kind of like walking a tightrope. You want to be open, but you don't want to be used. You want to be humble, but you don't want to make yourself smaller than what you are. You want to learn, but you don't want to be treated like as if you don't know anything. I think a lot of people can kind of, they can kind of like interpret somebody that's overly confident or even just really confident as being aggressive or being cold. But I just don't think that that's correct. I think that confidence is clear and it's saying like, here are my standards. Here's what I need. Here's who I am, and here's how I'm going to stand up. Here's what I'm available for. Here's what I'm not going to stand for. And being really clear on those things, I think, really helps kind of allow you to perceive yourself in the way that you want to. I've learned that having confidence or being assertive is just such a big balancing act. It's just not easy to get right all of the time. And I fail in this often. I kind of swing too far left and too far right often. And it's like I'm just constantly trying to hit this middle ground. And so maybe some of you guys can relate to this in the sense that I want to just say like, forget you guys, if people are just kind of not acting correctly, and I want to be kind of aggressive, but then sometimes if I go too far aggressive, then it's like, oh, yep, she's an angry bear. Like I told you, you got to stay away from that one. But then on the flip side of things, if I am making myself too small or too like passive and just saying like, it's okay, it's fine, like this will fix, no worries, no worries, no worries, then it's like you kind of get trampled on and it's hard for me to sleep at night when I'm not able to kind of like express myself and things. So just understand that if you're struggling with a balancing act of having confidence and being assertive, you're not alone. I have tried to master this for so long, and I'm either interpreted as the biggest bitch in the world or the biggest pushover in the world. And like having that middle ground is just something that I admire so much in people, like people that can handle aggressive situations with grace. I think it's like such a cool characteristic to have, and it's something I'm always kind of like learning towards. So congrats to the people that have that, and I'm desperately trying to join that club. But bear with me, I'm gonna get there eventually, I swear. So again, here's just one more kind of part. It's kind of a little bit repetitive of what we talked about in the beginning of, because some people don't necessarily like you, they just like what you can do for them. And this kind of just expands a little bit into this. So people that can actually elevate you versus people who just love to sweet talk you. And I feel like just kind of going over this a little bit deeper will just save people years and years of frustration, because I have had years and years of frustration with this. But when you're leveling up, you're going to hear a lot of, and by leveling up, I mean like when your business is expanding and you're getting higher and higher into things, there's a lot of people that are like, oh my God, you're so amazing. And like, we should collab, and like, don't forget to use us for things. Like, we want to partner with you. And I've always believed in you. I knew you could do it. And I just don't understand how you do it all. Like, can I pick your brain? Can we chat? Can you help me with this? And that's all sweet and great, because maybe some people are genuine. It's just that this past year I ran into a lot of people that I didn't run into a lot of people. I had a lot of people in my corner that I thought really truly loved me. I was like, oh yes, like this is my gang, we rock together. And then it was like, oh crap, no, I don't. That's such a bummer. But you guys told me you loved me. I thought it was the truth. Yeah, it wasn't. But so take all of those things into consideration, because saying things are really easy, but really what you want to pay attention to are people that connect you to other people when it benefits you and not them. They're just genuinely looking out for you. People that can keep their word and stay consistent with things. They follow through. They show up consistently. They respect your time. They know you need things quickly, and they're going to like make sure that it happens. And they'll advocate for you when you're not there. Like, that's how you really, really can see truly to the ones that are in your corner, and the people that truly will grow with you and help, make sure that you're coming along the way too, not just them, again, using you as a stepping stone, because that sucks. So to kind of like determine that, when I was writing this down, I made a little list of the people that will definitely like, they'll hype you up, but the actions won't necessarily back you up. They'll use your energy, your tactics, they'll steal your designs, and they'll really use your whole everything as theirs without really offering anything for you. They want to get close to your network. They want to be around who you know. They want to take your clients and use them as their own, but then they disappear, when it's time for you to need something or to go on. So what I've learned from this is that not everyone who celebrates you or praises you is a safe person. They're just not. They're calculated, and calculated people, again, are not bad people. They're just not people you should really pour into that much, because they can find another sucker to do. So let's close this out with a list I have here of 5 signs that a vendor likes your access and not you. They only text you when they need something. So like if you were to post and you were having a bad day, you probably won't hear from them. Their pricing changes based on your client. So if you are inquiring about a service that is typically like $700, it's going to now be $3,000. Weird. They support you privately when it's just you guys, but never publicly. So if someone's kind of throwing mud on your name, they're just like, oh yeah, sad for them. They're not really going to stick up and be like, hey, don't talk about her like that. They implement guilt on you when you try to enforce boundaries. So if you're telling them, hey, I'm not really doing this right now, like this isn't how my business is set up right now, they're going to try to guilt you. Like, hey, I thought you were my person, like, da, 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 da. And it's like, no, just respect how things are right now. And they feel entitled to your network. Be really cautious of this, because you've put a lot of time and energy into building something, and that's not an all access pass, and that shouldn't be given away easily. So those are the things that I was reflecting on, that are 5 signs to identify a vendor that just likes what you can do for them and doesn't really like you as a person. So this last part of this is what I'm going to be doing differently in 2026. So I've just filled your ear with all of this stuff that has been weighing me down. I'm really happy to get it out. Sorry if I babbled too much. I'm just really, truly hoping that this will save other people time and energy. And now I want to kind of close this off on a positive on what I've learned from these lemons. What's going to be my lemonade from all these lemons? In 2026, I am not giving access too early. I'm just going to treat business relationships as business relationships until it evolves truly into something more than that. I'm not going to assume people are loyal to me, and I'm not even going to really require it or want it, because if I start to put expectations on people, that's when I'm going to get let down. And I have to know that people are going to act differently than what I'm going to act. And that's okay. It's a free world. You do as you please. I need to protect myself and not think that other people are supposed to, give me that loyalty. It's just not realistic. I'm not going to confuse proximity for partnership. So just because we're around each other all the time, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is a two-way street. It just means that I've probably hired you for events. It doesn't mean that I'm getting anything back from it other than like you doing a great job, which again, you're just supposed to do a good job. I'm going to be kind, but still have really firm boundaries and protect myself. I'm going to be warm and welcoming to people, but still have really high standards, and they're just non-negotiable. I'm going to be very generous, but still discerning. And it's not about cutting people off or burning bridges. That's not what this is about at all. It's about learning how to move around people so that you keep yourself protected and you don't get your feelings hurt. It's just about being clear on what bucket to place people in. So some people belong in my network, some belong in my vendor list, and some people belong in my circle of trust. And none of those are negative lists or buckets to be in, but they all deserve their own category. And I'm okay with that. Okay, guys, so let's close this out. If this episode hit hard to you, it's probably because you've lived through similar things that I just kind of shared and experienced. I just want to remind you that you're not naive. You have a good heart and you care about people and you care about what you do. But going into this year, your heart needs some boundaries and some discernment and maybe some tough love. And I want to challenge everybody, because this is what I'm going to be doing, to pay attention to who is consistent when there's nothing to gain. So let's say that again, guys. Who is consistent when there's nothing to gain? Who's still showing up when you don't have anything to give to them? Those are your people, you guys. And if you have had hard lessons or learned in business, I want to hear it. I'm sharing all of this goodness with you guys, and I love to hear it back. So definitely let me know things that you've gone through and how you've handled it, or even just ask my advice. I'm not an expert, but I've definitely lived through some crazy things, so I can help. Be sure to DM me or the BTS page, leave a review, share this episode, and tag me in situations that are similar, because I kind of want to normalize, being like nice and kind and honest with each other. We're not doing business in 2026 with blind loyalty. We're doing it with standards, and we're doing it with our head held high and great confidence. All right, guys, I love you so much, and I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for walking down the aisle with us. Make sure you join us every Tuesday when a new episode releases. If you want to hear more, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. Make sure you guys subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and please give a positive review, because the more positive reviews and things we have on our sites, the easier it is for us to get this show into circulation. And I think we got some good advice to give to people. So I want to spread the word. All right. Thanks so much, guys.